Hey there, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome to a Genshin Impact event review. So I decided I want to do also event reviews, as well as other content reviews, compared to just character reviews. And today we are looking at the just now released Lantern Rite event. This is the big event for Genshin Impact since it is based on the Chinese New Year, and since MiHoYo is also based on China, it's meant to be their big thing, compared to our New Year or anything like Christmas, because they don't have that. They have this. So this also happened last year since the game was out back then, and it was a fine enough event, I would say. It had a good story with Xiao. It was tied into Xiao's story, and it had some okay minigames. Theater Mechanicus, we had the first iteration of Theater Mechanicus, which wasn't completely fleshed out and had lots of problems, but at least it was fine. It was a different kind of gameplay you would have in Genshin Impact, and also took quite a bit of your time, so you could say that you were playing Genshin Impact for at least more than 20 minutes like you do regularly. There were some other sort of fetch quests, but it was fine. And then you also got these like the Xiao lanterns, I think they were called, and you could have 1,000 of them and release them all together. I mean, it was actually kind of fine, and the decorations, of course, and everything was cool. But yeah, the thing that it was nicely combined with Xiao's story made the event actually kind of interesting. I mean, it actually in Genshin Impact's world, Lantern Rite is tied to Xiao. So today is the first day of the event. There's no Xiao to be found in the whole event. So yeah, I mean, it is the first day, and these event reviews will have a first impressions video like this one and a full review once the event ends, because maybe the first day wasn't as strong, maybe later days were more powerful, or maybe the first day was actually fantastic, but then as the event went on, it went to shit. So I mean, let's begin with what is for this year's Lantern Rite. So in general, it's bad. Yep, it's much worse than last year's, in my opinion. The story is completely boring, and I just mashed the skip button because, again, it was extremely, extremely boring. It's not finished as a complete story, but again, the piece of story that we have for this day is garbage, and yeah, it's just boring. And you know that they now just have Liyue events, and especially Lantern Rite, to just bring in all of the Liyue characters for, the fan service of, we didn't forget these characters, of course. And it's but yeah, story isn't anything, it's nothing important, I would say, at all. So, with that out of the way, very quickly, we get to the gameplay part of Lantern Rite. Compared to last year's, it is absolutely horrible. I would rather have the fetch quests with these Xiao lanterns rather than the garbage that we got this year. And of course, I would much rather have Theater Mechanicus over what we've got today. So, there are 3 types of minigames available right now, with a 4th one being available in around 5 to 6 days. It's called Oceanic Defense, I think, and if I remember, it most likely will be tied to the boss fight that we had in Shenhe's story quest, Osayo's wife, as it was. Maybe that's what it's going to be. I don't remember what the leaks said, or it's going to be something about it's Oceanic, not Oceanid, so I don't think the Oceanid is going to appear, but yeah, I think it's going to be something of a recreation of that thing. I don't remember, but I mean, that's for the next video, where it's going to be the full review, once the full event is out. But yes, we got 3 minigames, one centered around fireworks, another centered around shadows, a shadow game, but not dual monsters. Not Yu-Gi-Oh! And Shadow games. And the last one is the Waverider sort of thing. So let's tackle them one by one. First, let's go with the fireworks. The fireworks is a minigame where you're given a gadget once you are doing the story completely randomly. I'm not even joking. You are doing the quest, the story, and if you are especially mashing the skip button, you won't even realize when you got the gadget. But you go to a guy where Kaching is standing in front of him, and it's like, yo, you're like the manager of the fireworks, basically, right? Get some good fireworks, all right? And then Kaching leaves, and then the guy's like, oh, hi, traveler. Oh, here's a gadget. Bye. No, I'm not even joking. He's like, oh yeah, got business. Here's a fireworks gadget. It's like the most random, stupid thing I've ever seen. And it's like, wow. So, yeah, so what do you do with this gadget? You place it on the ground. You don't need to equip it to the gadget slot. It places it automatically like the parametric transformer. And then you have a minigame where you choose one of the two available things that it has right now. And then you have 3 choices on a wheel, for controllers at least. And you need to smelt the firework specifically to a yellow space that there is on your screen. And you have to choose like some techniques, as the game calls it, where depending on the technique you use, you'll have different effects on the smelting of the firework. By that I mean that the bar of the progress will fill differently. There's like a technique that fills the bar with a low amount, moderate amount, high amount. There's one technique that it fills the bar with a moderate amount on the one you have selected, and then with a low amount on the other 2 that you don't have selected. But yeah, it's a good idea, but the whole thing is just boring. The tutorial for it is just badly written. I would also say, like, I barely understood this tutorial, where instead of just saying, use a technique to fill the bar accordingly, fill the bar to the specific spot, and you'll get your high score. And that should have been it. Yeah, I think it, like, goes way... Like, it's just a bad way to explain the gameplay of this firework thing. And then if you get all 3 of the like characteristics of the firework on the yellow bar, on the yellow spot, you get a 1000 points, and then you get you get a 3000 score, which is the maximum. It's a good idea. The whole you also need to kind of have a bit of resource management, because the smelter has a stamina meter of its own. And the different techniques use different amounts of stamina. So depending on where the yellow spot is on the progress bar, you'll need to use different techniques so that you don't take all of the stamina out of the fireworks smelter and you get the yellow spot, which is a good idea, but the execution is pretty bad. So yeah, it's meh. It's again a good idea. Like there is something behind it, but execution is pretty bad, and the whole thing is just boring. You can then load up the fireworks on the thing and launch them, which is cool, but if the minigame is so boring, and also if you can just buy the fireworks from the event shop, what's the point of having this minigame? Just have the fireworks in the shop, the event shop, also have the gadget in the event shop, and then put another minigame, most likely something like Theater Mechanicus. And don't waste people's time with this shitty thing. So yeah, the fireworks minigame is bad, and I would guess that other stages will not change a thing about it. It's just going to be different fireworks you can craft. Then there's the shadow game, where you're given an object that you can rotate around, and you need to like move it to a certain angle to cast an object, to cast a certain object's shadow. This game is actually kind of cool. It is pretty fun, but it's kind of stale, as I've written in my notes. There's nothing behind it. First of all, there's a bar that literally tells you if you're going the right way or not, which is very hand-holdy. And yeah, it's like fully guided, so the puzzle kind of loses its essence. And also, if you don't hold the object in a very kind of specific angle, the game might not recognize it. Like the first object, you can have it either from the back or the front, and they look exactly similar from the back or the front, which is like a lantern thing. And yeah, if you don't have it from the front, you won't win. If you're like have the object correctly, but it's from the back, the progress bar would actually be completely zero, meaning that it's not this object at all. No, that's not right. You just need to freaking flip it 180 degrees and you will get it. So yeah, I mean, with the other objects, this problem wasn't there. But again, it's pretty hand-holdy with the progress bar. But I mean, I understand why they would introduce this kind of mechanic just so that people don't waste hours upon hours trying to find, what the fucking shape is, especially if it's something really strange compared to the ones that are in today's, what are available today. So yeah, the Shadow game is fine. The reason why I say it's stale is because last year, the Shadow game actually gave you like a map of an area throughout Liyue where you had to go and find treasure, which was actually pretty cool. If with this game, it was like, oh, there's this object that you can find inside of Liyue Harbor, right? Like, oh, go find this lantern or go find this boat or something. Or again, it gave you a hint where you could go find something and get a reward or something, bring it back. Anything, right? Like, oh, I've hidden I've hidden like objects inside of Liyue, of the city, right? And then it's like I have this shadow game. If you find, if you cast the shadow correctly, you'll find what object I've hidden. Go search it in Liyue. I'll tell you, an area, and then you can go find it. Like, that would have been fun. But no, it's just cast the shadow and then you're done. Bye bye. So yeah, good idea. Just they could have done just a tiny bit more like they did with last year's. And then the last one is the Waverider thing. So there's like you're tasked with finding lost pieces of the Jade Chamber, like things that were lost because it got plunged into the sea. So there are like boxes floating around in the sea that you can go and collect. That's mostly during like the story part of the minigame. Once you're allowed to do, go freely and do things with this minigame, there's like two to three things you can do. One is where you grab the Waverider and then you just sail off and then collect these boxes that are floating in the sea. They're like treasure hoarders on like boats, and you just shoot with the Waverider on the explosive barrels and they die, and then you just pick up the boxes. The second is that you need to defeat some treasure hoarder camps in order to also unlock these boxes and just pick them up. The problem is that this is supposed to be the combat part of the event, because when there's always a big event, there's always a combat part to it, because we gotta please the action audience of this game. The problem is that these treasure hoarder camps have like one treasure hoarder who's artificially buffed with insane resistances, so it's just a stupid mechanic introduced just to introduce another mechanic where you need to like go and pick up some stupid fireworks that are somewhere in the camp of the treasure hoarders and then throw it at this treasure hoarder so that you can lower their resistances. Completely unneeded mechanic. They could have just let this treasure hoarder be a treasure hoarder like everyone else, maybe have a bit of a higher health or just higher resistances, but not like insane like they have now. You can take them down. Someone like Hu Tao can easily just fucking destroy them. But again, it's just a stupid mechanic to introduce artificial like difficulty into a pretty meaningless combat minigame. So yeah, just bad. I would rather prefer Theater Mechanicus, if I'm honest. And then the last part of this Waverider thing, because for some reason this one has 3 separate minigames, is that you have to go to a specific spot where there's a challenge, and then a balloon spawns, those that you see in the commissions where you have to escort the balloon or destroy the balloons. And in this one, you have to destroy the balloon. Here's the problem. The balloon looks exactly like the one that you escort in commissions. So when I pressed the challenge and then the automatic tutorial started, I skipped the tutorial accidentally because, well, I started the challenge. The tutorial did not appear before activating the challenge. So once the challenge starts, I'm ready, I'm going, I'm pressing buttons to move. with the Waverider, I skipped the tutorial, and seeing the balloon, I was like, oh, I must score the balloon, right? It looks exactly like the one in the commissions. Nope, you have to destroy it. And there's no like easy HP bar to be seen, like, at the top of your screen to know how much HP the balloon has. The HP bar is attached to the balloon, and because of the shitty camera that is applied when you have the Waverider, and because the balloon also moves, it wasn't easy for me to see that there was a red health bar on top of the balloon, which meant I need to destroy it. So yeah, this minigame is meh. The part that makes this thing annoying is the auto-targeting of the Waverider. At some points you want to hit the balloon, but then it will hit some explosive barrels that are meant to destroy the balloon faster. And the Waverider just controls like garbage. Just utter garbage. The Waverider is just a hell to control. So yeah, that's mostly it. And then the other problem is that you can actually hit this balloon with your characters. But they've made it so that your characters deal no damage to the balloon. They've like artificially scaled its HP to like insane amounts, and the only thing that actually deals damage to it is the specific explosive barrels that are present once you start the challenge, and the Waverider itself, its attacks. They deal like insane damage to it. The problem is, right, this would have been fine. Like, of course, it is meant to be a Waverider minigame. Why would you use your characters? The problem is that this balloon, at least on the first challenge that has this, the balloon travels through terrain which is meant to be explored on foot. So it's like, wow, why waste my time by having the balloon go towards a path that the Waverider cannot, because the Waverider will get stuck, just to have the player go around the terrain and just wait for the balloon to appear. It's like extremely boring. And again, if the balloon did not go above this terrain, because I actually jumped out and started hitting it with Hutao, because I'm like, well, it's on top of terrain that I can walk on and the Waverider cannot go. So if I want to destroy the balloon as fast as possible, which is the challenge, why not jump out of the Waverider and destroy it with my characters, right? But no, like, I deal no damage. So yeah, like, I understand why. You don't want people to just throw in a gun you and destroy the balloon from afar. But again, the problem is that in this first challenge, the balloon goes on top of terrain that you can explore on foot and the Waverider cannot. And, that's just a design problem. So yeah, overall, extremely bad first impressions, I would say, compared to last year. The story is boring, bad. The minigames are garbage compared to something as even Theater Mechanicus' first iteration, even though the second one didn't change all that much. So yeah, just bad. And if these are the only minigames that exist and nothing changes on their other stages, I'm guessing that unless that Oceanic Defense is just glorious, this will be a very bad Lantern Rite. In terms of rewards, there's nothing really strange compared to other events. It's the same thing. Hey, we get a free 4-star of our choice from Liyue. That's cool. I mean, that was expected, and if they didn't do that, people would have been hella mad. So, they cannot take that away. You get the Ningyan skin here as well. That's cool. And the shop has, like, furnishings and other garbage, which I won't trade. I just got the gems. And then there's, like, a crown and some other stuff. No Primo gems on the shop. I guess they give you plenty through the minigames, but yeah, that's it. Again, really bad first impressions, so I'll see you on the next part of this event review, where the event, is at its last stages, and we'll see if things got better. See ya.